Let's try that again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm here for the next hour with this wonderfully talented team of guys who are going to be joining me. Sadly, we have had one little dropout this evening, but we'll start off at the top right-hand corner. Ian Noble, welcome, mate. How are you?
Good evening, Nick, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you, Nick. Yeah, just recovering from yesterday's shock at the end, but we'll talk more about that later on, of course.
Yeah, I think we'll probably cover that in some detail. Bottom left, Olioke, wingman, you know the business. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, you?
Yeah, been better. Went to the last two games and it's been both as crap as each other. And welcome back, the governor. Jimbo, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, Nick. Nice to see you all again.
Yeah, you escaped earlier, so you missed the debacle at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I missed a crappy goal at the end, yeah, but
well, you did the right thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just before we get into everything this evening, obviously, welcome to Red and Blue Review. You can find us on Twitter and YouTube and all your usual places, and download the show, share it out wherever you can. Rob Cranfield's asking how you are, Jill. Tell him you're alive and kicking.
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, a few things coming up, but yeah, thanks for the concern. Thanks for some of the messages I've been getting as well. Very nice of you.
We discovered pre-show, ladies and gentlemen, we're a bunch of old cronies. Talk about the ultras. That's exactly what we are. The ultras. Knees falling off, head injuries, heart attacks between us. But there you go. And talking about poor health, ladies and gentlemen, we were also supposed to be joined this evening, and I'm going to start off with this, if you don't mind, by the lovely Lindsay from the DSA, who the DSA, the Disabled Supporters Association, very kindly invited me, as you can see on the far left of that picture, to an initiative that they're working alongside, the Unite for Access for Disabled Sports Fans. And I had the great pleasure of spending a few hours yesterday in their company, and we got to meet and greet some of the players as they came in, which was a great. I mean, if you look at the faces on some of those kids outside the ground or actually on the pitch side, you think they've just won the lottery. You think they're everything they've ever wanted in this world. So Crystal Palace and our supporters association, our Disabled Supporters Association, are delighted to be connected with that. And Lindsay was going to come on this evening and tell us all about the initiative and what we can do as a fan base to support them. But sadly, she's gone down. She's a little bit poorly this evening. So Lindsay, and we've also extended the invitation out to Bruce as well. Thank you for the opportunity yesterday. Thank you for the invitation. Everybody was so sweet, and it's lovely for Red and Blue Review to be associated with you guys. But more importantly, it's great that you're associated with that fantastic initiative. And get well soon, and you're going to be a regular on the show anyway. Bruce, there is an invitation. You're supposed to be with us. Okay? Did you not get the message from Lindsay? If you do find the link, Bruce, click on it right now because I can see you're out there, and jump on. Okay, because we want you on here. So come and join us. So, gentlemen, I've got a number for you. Ian, you're not allowed to answer this. The number is 204. Jim and Jill, what's 204?
I haven't a clue.
Corners. No, you're pretty close though. It's 201. But it's corners that we failed to convert. Corners that we have failed to score from. How do we solve it? Who's first? Anybody?
Well, look. That's a stat that is a horrible, horrible stat. All right, that's the first thing to say, and there's no denying it. Okay, we did score from the second phase of a corner against Burnley, so I'll take that. All right, and we had some good efforts at goal yesterday from corners and free kicks that were given for fouls out near the corner flag. And listen, I've seen an improvement in the set pieces since Oliver Glasner's been in charge. If you haven't been watching closely enough, because there's definitely been an improvement. There's clearly they've been working on set pieces. They've got a dedicated set piece specialist coach And listen, it's only a matter of time, guys. It's got to be only a matter of time before we put that statistic to bed. So that's my 2 pennyworth on it.
Jim?
I'm not overly concerned.
Yeah, what I saw yesterday for the first time in 5 seasons was organised corner takers. Looked as if somebody had obviously worked on us. The first 2 or 3 corners, there was short corners, and then it ended up at Lerma, edge of the box, completely unmarked. We haven't done that before. We just whacked the ball in the middle. I mean, we had 4 or 5 attempts at goal where we got on the end of things yesterday. We didn't do anything with them, but there's a couple of near misses. So it's an improvement, and it's just been said. Nick just said it's going to get better and better. The guys obviously worked on it. It amazed me watching Palace over the last all the time Roy was there. I never saw anything worked on. I see somebody put 2 hands up on the edge of the box and they whacked the ball into the 6-yard box. I never saw any movement. I never see any players make runs, come out, check out. I never see any short corners being worked on. Yesterday was 100% improvement. So we will score goals from corners at some point.
Joe, you got any thoughts on it?
No, I'm just going to, reiterate what you guys have said already. But I mean, I think we've only got we've got 1 more game, and then we've got a bit of a break. So obviously, we can work on. Everyone knows that he's more into fitness, and obviously now we've got a set piece coach. Hurrah! I can't believe we didn't have one anyway. But I mean, it looks like they actually know that we've got a variation now, which is nice. And if we can just work on those, things can only get better. So.
Well, the break actually starts now, Jill. Our next game is not until I think, 30th of March. But
it's the 30th now, yeah.
Ian?
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that we didn't have a set piece coach before, in as much as Dean Kiley was that person, but he's also the goalkeeping coach. And my understanding is Glasner took the responsibility off him and gave it to one of the new guys. I can't remember which one. One of the guys that worked with him at a previous club. So I think that's what's happened. But clearly, as we've said already, we've seen a marked improvement.
Well, from me personally, and you're going to hear some negatives from me as we go through the show, because I don't think all is rosy in the garden still. I think we've still got an awful lot of work to do. And as Gilles just rightly alluded to, it's early days and they've now got a little bit of time. But I was actually talking to some female club officials yesterday. I spent quite a few hours before most of you guys turned up at the stadium. And the one thing I've gleaned from Oliver Glasner is that he is a stickler for absolute. He's thrown basically a new blanket over Selhurst Park and said, right, this is what I want you to do in all departments, not just the ones that he's directly responsible for, to the point where the girls in their blue suits, the match day girls, I want them in the stadium at X amount of time. I want the admin department on duty. I want to the point where they were consistently looking at their watches, saying, right, we now need to do so-and-so, so-and-so, because that's what the new manager wants us to do. So to me, the guy is like a breath of fresh air around the stadium, okay? And I think it's already reflecting in some of the things that's happening on the pitch. However, I don't want to just blow smoke up his arse for the sake of blowing smoke. There was still, there was 11 players out there and the substitutions yesterday. And quite frankly, in my opinion, and I was completely anti what Ian Lyons was saying in one of our chats yesterday, I thought the performance was bang average. Okay, it was better than Luton. Okay, we were better than Luton. Yes, I accept that. But I don't think there is. I was reading the BBC's report on matchday report, and underneath that they listed all the players. Okay, and even last year under Hodgson, there was players in 7s and 8s and so on and so forth. Okay, I said to Ian yesterday before I read that report, I said if there was a player above 6 as an overall performance yesterday, I would be very surprised. And sure enough, young Adam Walton and Daniel Gomez, what's his name? Nunes, okay, they were the highest ranked players. Everybody else, and especially Eze, I thought were poor. I thought that maybe bang averages. And Ian, you're looking as though you want to come back and jump down the throat. Go for it. You're on mute, mate. Ian, you're on mute.
My apologies. I was only on mute because I was coughing a bit earlier. My apologies. Okay. I don't know what stats you were looking at, but the BBC stats at the end of the game showed 3 players above 7, and then 6, 8, 9, 6, 8, 4. So there were some reasonable numbers there. So you said there were how many above 7? 2.
2.
Oh, there were 3. So it wasn't that much.
And nobody in an 8.
No, nobody in an 8. Luton's highest was they had a 7. They had 2 7s. We're 3. There wasn't much in it, really, was there?
Nigel, you wanted to jump on?
That BBC stat that Ian's referring to is a total load of balls.
Oh, thanks, Nigel.
It's voted for by the fans, and you get fans of the bigger clubs just go down and give the players 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and the opposition 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So it means nothing.
Okay. Well, let's
So
not
they
talk
can.
about
So
that.
what you're
Let's
saying is
not
they can.
over it.
Right, okay. A couple of little bits of housekeeping I want to cover off before we get into the game itself, okay? To all you mummies out there, okay, for every single one of you special ladies, happy Mother's Day. I hope you've had great days with your children and your loved ones. Happy Mother's Day. And I also now would like to touch, before we get into the game, please, boys, on Sunny Singh Gill. Sunny Singh Gill. He was the first, and this doesn't and shouldn't matter. Yeah, we're coming to that right now, Nigel. He's the first British Asian referee to referee a Premier League game yesterday, and there is a bit of a hoo-ha, okay, especially, and even on Sky it got mentioned today that guy, his performance was, if our players were an average 6, his performance was a 4, but to the fact that this guy is actually signing autographs at half time, there's a big hoo-ha and stink over it that he shouldn't be doing it. Who does he think he is? Is he turning into a Clattenburg wannabe? Jim, your thoughts on to see a referee signing autographs at the tunnel at half time?
Well, there's certain things in life that don't bother me, and that's certainly one. It would worry me if he was standing next to the manager of the opposition team signing autographs, but no, I thought the guy was excellent. I thought he had a very sound game. He looked in control. He was very relaxed about everything. He weren't sort of waving and rushing about. When people were moaning and groaning, he just was calm all the way through. I thought he had a good game. And like these people that come out with comments like that, I've got no time for things like that. There's more important things in life than worrying about him signing. Well, so that might have been a 5-year-old kid with one arm and no legs, and he's signing. You wouldn't moan about it then, would you? So, no problem. I thought he'd done all right yesterday.
Fair enough. Jill?
I mean, I've not heard of it before. Now that Jim's had his tuppence, I can sort of relate to that, really. I don't really care. I mean, for me, the referees, they're there to referee the game. They're either good or they're crap. Generally, they're crap. I was a little bit slightly taken back that he's actually from Luton. But I'm sure we're going to cover that. And if we aren't, then I don't know how, and his family live there. And yeah, it's a bit. But yeah, I don't really care. I mean, what you just said, Jim, it just took me back to the 2016 FA Cup final where Clattenburg was seen talking to Ferguson down the tunnel before the game. So yeah, that sort of bothered me a lot. Still does, to be honest. But it's football, say la vie.
Ian?
I don't think I can't agree with you, Jim, necessarily on that. I thought he had a good game. I can't remember anything major that he did wrong, put it that way. But it just didn't feel to me that he had control of the game particularly. I thought he let a lot go, an awful lot go.
Well, that's good. That's good. We want
maybe,
to get the goal. We don't want it stopped every 2 minutes, do we?
I suppose when it's going against you, it feels bad. There's a lot of thoughts in the chat from various people at the game that thought he didn't have a particularly good game. But as I said, I'm struggling to justify that stance in as much as I can't think of any howlers he made or anything like that. So maybe he did have an okay game because he was inconspicuous. We didn't notice him.
Well, surely that's the whole point. If the referee doesn't make any howlers, he's had a good game. How else? What else can he do apart from give you 2 or 3 penalties?
I think the point was more that he was doing it at half time, before the game, during the warm up, after the game, whatever. I think because his focus of attention should have been on what's happening during the first half and what's going to happen in the second half. I think that was more the people getting the knickers in a twist, probably over something they shouldn't do. Anyway, I'm more convinced by Cannon's explanation than anything else. I think I'll go with you, Jim. All right, okay, let's move on, boys. Ian, would you like to cover off the game, please? Because it was quite, there were some exciting things in it. It was nearly a monumental goal by Eze, lots of nearlies, but not an awful lot converted. Over to you, mate.
Absolutely. I mean, guys, chip in if you've got things to add, of course, because we all watched it. But there's the lineup. That's the same team that started at Tottenham, I think I'm right in saying that. So no changes there. As we sort of expected, Palace to line up yesterday afternoon against Luton Town. And the game started brightly. They actually started, I think, a little bit better than us. There was quite a lengthy stoppage quite early on when Ross Barkley came a cropper in our penalty area. It was Joel Ward that went for a header with him. Barkley headed over, but Joel Ward headed him and got him right in the nose. And there's quite a lengthy delay. I saw something on social media that Luton Town thanked our medical team for helping out with that injury to get him back on the pitch. So thanks, guys, for doing that. I'm sure that's the spirit of the game. And it wasn't long before we were in front, of course. So it was a doughty back pass that didn't quite have enough legs on it. And Munoz pounced on it. And doesn't he look the real deal when he's going forward, Daniel Munoz. He got in there, and I thought he was going to score himself at first. But he just pushed it a little bit too far, took it round the keeper. And then I thought, is the keeper going to bring him down here? Gets the ball across into the 6-yard area. And I have to say, I thought Jean-Philippe Mateta's finish, there it is on the screen, is still a bit. What a great photograph that is. Was absolutely sublime. A really class finish. If that's Haaland doing that or Salah, everyone's waxing lyrical completely. That is a top finish from a striker.
But we've seen that before, though, Ian.
Say again?
We've seen that from Mateta before, though, haven't we?
Yeah. Was this the one at the Amex?
Yeah.
In behind closed doors, he did that, didn't he? Once. And there wasn't a crowd on that day, but it was a really, really good goal. And it puts us 1 up early on. It was an audacious back heel and 1-0. We had other chances after that. Ayew had a cross. He almost found Mitchell at the back post. I couldn't help noticing when I watched the highlights back how many times Tyrick Mitchell's popping up in the penalty area as well. And he's really taking his wing-back role very seriously. He's playing really high up the pitch and very differently to how he played under Roy Hodgson. I think, Jim, you touched on this earlier, the Wharton short corner hit Lerma at the edge of the box and a header was just over. So, we were coming close. We were knocking on the door again for goal number 2. And you're thinking to yourself, you're sitting watching it and you're thinking, actually, it's not going to be long before we score again. This is looking pretty good and pretty promising. And then we have an Eze corner from the left, I think it was, and Mateta gets up and he's headed the ball over the bar. But if you watch that one back, he's being held the whole time. The Luton defender's got his arms around him the whole time. Yeah. So maybe this is an area where we can talk about, does the referee doesn't see that? He doesn't give anything. And it definitely stopped Mateta jumping as high as he probably could and should have done. Because if he jumps higher, he gets over the ball and he can head it down better than the opportunity that he missed out on. So yeah, Ayew then set himself. He had a shot. It was well saved. And then there was another misplaced Luton back pass. And this time, Mateta rounded the goalkeeper to the left, almost in the inside left position. And you think he's going to score that. This was probably the best chance that we had, other than the goal. And an easier chance, arguably, than the goal he scored. And I think the keeper got something on it, or either that or it was just wide of the goal. I can't remember which. Someone helped me out there.
Yeah, from our end, it looks as though I thought initially he was actually slightly off balance as he took the shot and he put it wide. I don't think that, from memory, I don't think the keeper got anything on it. Jim, from where you were, Jim, did you see anything?
No, I just looked. It was a little bit wider probably, and I think he tried to lift it a bit, but the keeper was in a position where he probably had to get it higher and more inside, and he just never connected properly with it, didn't he?
Yeah. But it was a really big chance, I thought. I thought it was the best chance that we had.
Definitely.
And, should have scored, really. He'll watch that back and he'll think, how didn't I score that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that was the first half, really. That's all I've really got to say about the first half. And we go in, it's comfy 1-0, Everyone's happy, enjoying their half-time bovril and looking forward to the second period, really.
People before you go to the second half, people in the chat are talking about, Keith Parker said, good evening, Keith. No touch from the keeper. Dawn said keeper was in advance of him. And what is Mark Cannon? I was kind to him there. I think he was slightly off balance. Jill, from what you saw, that opportunity from Mateta, do you think he should have put it away?
Well, I mean, a better striker would have probably put that away, but we all know that if he's got loads and loads of time, he's not fantastic. So it's when he doesn't have the time that he's, we've seen his bullet header a couple of weeks ago, and we see death flicks when he doesn't have any time. So, yeah, but yeah, people were saying he should have scored, but it was once he'd gone round a keeper, he'd probably a little bit more of a heavy touch. And he hasn't just got a simple tapping. That's the thing. And then he's got the other thing is where the keeper's up, and he's got to beat the keeper anyway. So, but
let's talk about him for a bit longer, because I do think he's improving as a striker. I'm liking more of what I see of him. There are other strikers that have been around the block a bit that we've been linked with. I'm not saying we should go for any of these. I'm not going to mention names because probably people just call me out in the chat if I do. But there have been lots of strikers we've been linked with, and people go, why don't we go and buy so-and-so, so-and-so? And they're no better than Mateta, half these people. They're really not, And he's keeping Edouard out the team. Edouard comes on, at the end and does his bit. But I think he's playing well, Jean-Philippe Mateta. I like him.
It's interesting. I think it's interesting that the managers actually in both games, in both the Spurs game and the Luton game yesterday, made a couple of special mentions to him, saying that he's given him a slightly different role, and he wants him to hold the ball up, use his physicality a little bit more, and he appears to be doing it a little bit. But around me in the stadium yesterday, the word Bambi kept coming about. Okay, Jim. Yeah, I think it's slightly unfair. Jim, your thoughts on Mateta?
Well, I mean, I'm like a lot of people were very critical of him early doors last season, early on in the season. But for the last, I think I said it the other week, the last 2 or 3 months, he looks a different player. His hold-up play is 10 times better than it has been. His physicality in fighting for the ball has been a lot better. I can see where they come the Bambi on ice. He's all legs at times, isn't he? And I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head when think instantly he's better than when he's got maybe time to think about it. And so them little flicks and goals that he get is probably easier for them than when he's running through one-on-one and he's got to make up his mind whether he's going right or left. But to be fair, he's been probably, apart from Jordan Ayew, he's been one of our best players for the last couple of months, without a doubt.
And as Tom Clark Samuel just said in the chat, he actually got man of the match yesterday, which is slightly surprising. I'd have personally given it to Nunes or Walton myself, and I know we're going to come on to the Walton situation and as to why he was subbed in a minute, Ian, for the second half. You carry on with that, mate. We'll pick up on that as you go through.
Yeah, okay. Jill, did you hear what Jim said? He's our best player apart from Jordan Ayew. Did you pick up on that?
I did.
Good.
To just loosen my collar a little bit.
Yeah, good. Okay. I'm just pulling your leg. Great. Okay. So second half begins. Sort of first incident of note, I think I've got written down here is that Eze crossed into the box, and it was Daniel Munoz that almost got on the end of it. And again, I think when I watched it back, watched it a couple of times, different angles. He's being held. Nothing given at all. I don't know how much you need to hold someone to give away a penalty these days.
It's just a top six player, mate. That's all. Everyone else doesn't count. Because a top six player is a penalty, free kick, or whatever. It's just a run-of-the-mill, normal, average Premier League player like ours. Nah, you're all right.
It just
kick can be kicked.
I think the VAR thing is what do they call it? Something noticeable, something that the referee really should have spotted but didn't. That's when they could intervene. But clearly nothing going there at all.
Just thinking about full-time autographs, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, maybe he was. Yeah. So as it was very involved early on in the second half, shot over. Then he had a soft shot from the edge of the box. This next move I'm going to talk about was a good move. This is when Mateta was involved. This time, instead of shooting himself, and he had to do quite a lot to move his feet to make the opportunity, he plays Jordan Ayew in on the right-hand side, and really he needs to get his shot away, Ayew, but he doesn't. He takes a touch, and that was just enough for the Luton player to get back and block him. But that was a decent enough move until the final execution. They then had their first shot on target. It was a Doughty cross from the left, and Morris connected with it first time. Now, he's quite a good centre forward. I like the look of him as well. It shot on target, but it was straight at Sam Johnson, the kind of save that you'd expect him to make, but he did save it well. Up the other end again, Mitchell crosses Mateta header, which was very well saved. I don't think the keeper knew much about this one. It was a bullet header, really connected with it well. And as I said, I don't think the keeper knew much about it. And then Amada from the rebound put the ball wide. I'll come to the substitutions at the end, I think. We can talk more about that and whether we agree with them or whatever, rather than throughout the analysis here. And then the moment in the game that I probably enjoyed the most, and it would have been one of the moments of the season had it gone in. But Eze picks the ball up just over the halfway line, and he has this audacious effort that was really Beckham-esque. It was at the other end of our ground when Man United were playing Wimbledon all those years ago, when he scored from the halfway line, which is a goal that has been played over and over. But it was very similar to that, and it was literally just over the bar. That's a great photograph. I wonder who took that. That's a really good effort, isn't it? That is the ball that's highlighted, not some bloke's hat in the crowd.
It's spot the ball competition, I think.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so I was thinking, how can he have hit the ball with the same? It's almost like he, what's the right? I mean, Jim, you play a lot of golf, so you'll be able to correct me if I get this wrong. But he's taken his 3-iron, and he should have taken his 4-iron. Is that the right way around?
Yeah, but probably a 7-iron. He hit it. He hit it really well, but he hit it too well. Yeah. It was he drove it where he needed maybe a little bit more loft so that it would go over and just dip down. But great effort.
I wanted to come in on this particular point because I don't know if you realise that that direct shot was a simple influence of the new manager. And the reason I'm saying, I don't know if you saw one of his post-match interviews yesterday. He's such a stickler for details. He'd actually told the attacking lineup that we were playing yesterday, keep your eye on their goalkeeper. He travels a lot. He likes to push on. He likes to spend time at the edge and even further out of his box. And that's exactly where that came from yesterday. And it just goes to show you that what we have in this manager is somebody who is, I'm oozing about him. I actually think he's quality. I think he's absolute quality. Jim, from what you've seen, what are you thinking about this new guy?
Well, he says all the right things. He wants to play on the front foot. he's certainly not a defensive-minded manager. We're getting forward a lot faster. We're pressing a lot higher up. It all looks good, but it's like anything, any manager, it's all about results. So I think time will tell. But yeah, I think he's a good addition to Crystal Palace Football Club.
Good, and I'm glad you've raised that point about the press, actually, if you don't mind, because that was something that we picked up on with the guys standing around with Joe. I don't know if you picked up on it yesterday. The early press, the high press, it's something that we're not used to as Crystal Palace fans, and I think it's something that, again, is a massive influence from Glasner. It's totally alien to us, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, the high press is only going to work if the team buys into it. You can't high press with one. Do you remember when Gallagher started doing it on his own, and a few seasons ago, and people were like really infused about it. Then all of a sudden, like Ayew did it, and then Wilf did it, and you were like, and then all of a sudden we've got 4 players doing it. When 4 players turn up and do it, then you can, you get half a chance of the high press working. But as we all know, that by having a high press, you can also get caught out. So I think we have half an eye on that as well.
There was Ian. Before you come in, I was just going to put on that exact point, Jill. There was a situation in the first half where I was watching Ward. Actually, I was player watching Ward. So Munoz and Mitchell both pushed on, and as Jim had said earlier on, outside the 18-yard line, completely alien to what they've been doing, and they're both doing it really well. But at the back, at the time, I was watching Ward. 1 minute he was on one side covering Mitchell, and the next minute he ran across past Anderson and Richards, and he was actually covering Munoz. I thought, this is Joe Ward's the oldest player in the squad, and he's having a magnificent game. Sorry, Ian.
No, don't need to apologise. Yeah, I mean, Joe, you said, will they do it? Yes, they'll do it, because Oliver Glasner will demand that they do it. And we've seen this already in games that, yesterday was a good example, but we saw it in the first game even. How they pressed a bit more, and we've just seen it improve. And I think this will be a feature of what we do going forward for sure. Let me just finish the game, if I may, and then if we can come back to this bit, I think that's probably a good way of doing it. So just a few other noticeable points from the game. Lerma fed Mitchell. His shot was blocked. Probably fell to the wrong player, but he'll improve in front of goal, won't he? Then Edouard's on the pitch at this time, and again, really nice feet. And this is in stoppage time, when even then we're thinking, actually, why is he having a shot? Why aren't we taking the ball into the corner and wasting a bit of time, because we're winning the game, and he has a shot and he hits the bar. And you think, so many chances to make it 2-0. Absolutely. You're almost losing count. I think there were 21 shots in the end, and we'll get the stats at the end shortly. And then just when you think that we've won the game, because it's on 95 minutes on the clock, we've got the ball in their half of the pitch. Armada's got the ball. He's got 2 players around him, and one of them actually pulls him back. Now, again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but you watch this back, certainly on the highlights, and you'll see someone just hold him, and that was enough for the other player to nick the ball off him. That he passes it out to Townsend. Townsend looks up, and then you think, actually, if someone gets close to him, he doesn't get the cross in. But he knows, Townsend, he's got one chance left, and he's got the experience to put his left foot and put it into the penalty area. And Luton aren't a team who give up, as we clearly saw. And they get into the penalty area, and it just gets ahead on it. And it's very difficult to defend, I think, as Oliver Glasner said in his post-match interview. Very difficult to defend. So I don't call anyone out. People saying, we had 3 centre-backs all over 6 foot. Why didn't they head it? It's so difficult to defend at that stage of the game, psychologically.
I want to come back to the goal in a minute, Ian, if I can. Yeah. I just want to bring Joe in, because I want
to... So the game's over. Game finishes 1-1, and we're all absolutely gobsmacked, devastated, speechless. I had no words at the end, and it took me a little while, actually. But there we are. So let's just get the stats up. And the stats are interesting, because possession, you would have thought that we would have had more possession. It felt like we had more possession, but we didn't. 21 shots to their 8, but only 4 of them on target. So we've got to get shooting on target a bit better, and similar number of corners, and they're the fouls. So, from a possession point of view, they're decent. Luton. I think they'll stay up. I hope they stay up. Because I want to play them next season. Joe, sorry, you can speak now, mate. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I had 2 points. I want to go back to their goalkeeper in a minute, but let's go on the goal. So obviously, if it's a foul, it's a foul, and during that phase of attack, the referee or VAR would have been satisfied that it wasn't a foul. Otherwise, it would have got taken back. But anyway. So the first part that I noticed was that Eze didn't get close enough to Townsend. Secondly, that had it been the other way around, as it has been over the last couple of seasons, that Elise has put in, that was an Elise-esque cross. It was a massively brilliant cross, and he still has a little bit of quality about him, Andros. He always has. And then again, another point was that Nick we had a little bit of a heated debate earlier about this, but he was seeming to think that it might have been Hughes that should have been marking him. Well, their player, actually, if you look at the trajectory of the way that the ball came in, the ball went over Richards and it was short of Anderson in a line of then our goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper was unsighted anyway, and that all it needed was it was a game of 2 deft flicks, one from a foot and one from a head, because the only place that could have gone in and beaten Johnson was where it did, or in off the post. It was no matter what way you look at it, as a sickener, if you take your rose tinted glasses off, it was a really good goal. It was a really good cross. And like you say, they're battlers, Luton. And I talked to Nick at half time yesterday, because obviously I had to go to Wales yesterday, so I've only seen extended highlights of the game and everything. And I rang him because where I was right in the valleys, there was no reception. I couldn't get DAB. So I said to him, "What's the score?" He went 1-0, and he told me all about it. And I was like, "Oh, sweet as." So it'll end up 1-1 then. Anyway, and just getting to my second point.
Awful, is it?
I know, I do feel a little bit jinxy about that. And my second point was that I think that this goalkeeper situation, everybody keeps saying it, but one of the first games that we went to, Nick, a few years back, it was Palace versus Liverpool, and we watched the Liverpool goalkeeper basically act like a I don't know, almost like a sweeping third centre back. Goalkeepers now are expected, where you used to have you had the defenders and then you had someone sitting in front like a Baresi. They're almost like the goalkeeper now is not just a goalkeeper. He is essentially an extra outfield player. They're expected to play like that. So you have every chance of catching any goalkeeper in the Premier League. They're all doing it. Look at the 2 keepers today for the Man City and Liverpool. They're both ballers. They both, they're expected to be able to pass. That's the thing about goalkeepers now. They're not just expected to be able to throw the ball or flick it up, whack it, curl it. They're expected to put it on the floor and pass it at pace, properly pass it like a baller, like instead of just being a keeper. So there's always going to be that chance, but obviously, if he does come out all the time, then it's definitely a thing to catch these keepers out. But going to the goal, it was a good goal, and we were unlucky. But if you only take 1 of 21 chances, it's going to be 1-1.
Jim, can I ask you a question? I want to go back. I'm still talking about the goal. I want to talk about Eze's position for that goal, okay? And I want to talk about, secondly, I want to ask you about us allowing Townsend to go down the right, cutting on, and we know what he's going to do with his left peg and have the quality of deliverance that he showed yesterday. Should Eze have got closer, and should we have allowed him to cutting on from the right onto his left peg?
Yeah, well, you want every player to get closer to your opponent at times, but I mean, the fault come from, I know Ian's mentioned, like, holding shirts and things like that. But there's a minute to go, and Amahada had the ball, and he suddenly decided that he was going to take it forward in halfway into their half with two players facing him, and he lost the ball.
Yeah.
And because he's lost the ball, we're probably not set up. He should have, I mean, maybe with more of a leader type person. He's a young lad. Minute to go. He shouldn't have been trying to take anybody on. He could have knocked it out. I don't know who was. There was somebody out wide on the right. All he had to do was pass it to him, keep the ball for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Never happened. But as soon as you lose the ball, people aren't set up because they're thinking, "Oh, we got the ball. We're all right." And it come across really quick. And I mean, I'm not going to blame Ezzy for not getting close. Andrew Townsend got the ball, cut inside, and whipped it straight in. And maybe we were a bit deep, bearing in mind that Amahada tried to take it sort of towards their 18-yard box. But yeah, it was an unfortunate. It was a sickener. There's two things there. He should never have lost the ball. He should have been keeping it. And we had enough chances to score 4 goals. So,
Yeah, I agree, Jim. I think even if he'd looked up and played it into touch by the corner flag, they wouldn't have scored the goal. You know, it would have been too far away. The clock would have ticked down. Anyway, it's happened. It is what it is. I think Oliver Glasner said in his post-match that we were hurting. It hurts. Yes, it hurts. But he also said that, you know, we'll take the positives out of this and we're going to learn from this. And that's what I thought as I was walking away. He'll sort this. Glasner will sort this. I've got confidence that he'll sort this. And he'll look at that, he'll make them watch it back and he'll say, next time we're in that position, we don't do that. You know, we do this.
Ian, hold that thought because we're coming on to the break trip in a minute, okay? Lots of interesting stuff in the chat. And by the way, thank you for the great numbers that are watching this evening. I know there's in excess of 100 of you out there watching this evening. Joe, you wanted to say something? Come on, mate.
I just saw something come up on my screen, right? But it's the greatest name on here, and it won't mean anything apart from just a very few people. Who is that? I need to know who has this name. Why you kick my dog? Seriously, if you don't know that, it's a meme about a guy who, anyway, one of the funniest things I've ever listened to. It's a radio station in America, but it's about, anyway, why you kick my dog.
Right, why you kick my dog? Can we have your name, please? You need a name check just for that name on Facebook. Right, Lone Watch boys. David Boateng and Dundee didn't have a match. Killian Phillips played the entire match for Aberdeen in a 3-1 win against Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup final. Scottish FA Cup. Neil Warnock announced he was leaving Aberdeen less than an hour after the game, after just 8 games in charge. Strange that he left the club after winning 3-1, but yeah, there you go. He's a strange bloke anyway. Owen Goodman conceded goals for Colchester United, who lost 2-0 at Barrow. Kofi Barnes scored after 85 minutes, and John Kamani Gordon came on from the bench in the 66th minute for AFC Wimbledon, who won 2-0 at Notts County. Scott Graham was not part of the squad for Carlisle. Ola Adebayomi came off the bench in the 63rd minute for Burton Albion and scored their only goal in the 70th minute in the 3-1 home defeat to Peterborough United. And Taya Adramola played the first 28 minutes, and Malcolm Iwobi stayed on the bench for Texas RWD Molenbeek, who lost 3-0 at home to Anderlecht. Right. I want to do the next one, of course, because something's happening today, or something happened today that I want you all to be aware of if you are not aware of it. Results from other teams since the last show. The under-21, Stoke City, played Stoke City. They won 3-1 away on Monday against in the Premier League 2 Division 1. Under-18s played home to Chelsea in the under-18s Premier League and ran out losing 1-0. Now, today was a very important day in the history of Crystal Palace ladies. Where's he gone? Any idea? He's bailed out somewhere. In the ladies' championship, okay, Crystal Palace. I watched this game because it was on Palace Player. And for those of you who did, I'm sure you probably enjoyed it as much as I did. Palace ladies beat Sheffield United women at Selhurst Park this afternoon, and they are also back at Selhurst Park at the end of the month. I think it's the first. They're at Selhurst Park in another game. Now, how are the ladies doing? This is quite important that you know where things stand on the ladies' front. They are currently sitting in second position. There you go. Second position in the championship. Only one team gets promotion from the championship to the WSL. Obviously, the current leaders are Sunderland, as you can see there. Okay, we are 1 point behind Sunderland, but with a game in hand and also a massive goal difference over them. I'd be more concerned about Charlton, who have also got a game in hand as well, and have had a very good season as well. And also Birmingham City. But look at those points. Sunderland on 34 and Palace on 33, Charlton on 31 and Southampton on 30. The girls need to be. Laura Kaminsky has done a magnificent job. They've got some fine players in the ladies' squad this year. They are pushing for promotion. Now, can you see, Joe, I'll come straight to you on this. If that happened and they got promoted to the WSL, he's going to have to invest in the ladies' team hugely. In fairness, they have done so a little bit in the close season because they lost a lot of players last season. Can you see Parish and co investing in the ladies' team?
They don't really invest in the first team, so I can't see that happening. Sorry. Oh, I mean, awkward.
Yeah, awkward silence there. Really? I mean, you can't honestly say that. We were the highest spenders in the last transfer window, so you can't.
Oh
say
yeah,
that.
like 76 quid, and everyone else is skint or under embargoes. That's why no one else spent any money.
£94 million spent by the other teams in the Premier League, or in all teams in the Premier League, and we spent over 30 million of it. So that's a little bit harsh. Jim, do you think it'll be a good thing for the club? Kudos for the club if the ladies got promoted?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, the Women's Super League gets a hell of a lot of attention at the moment, especially with Sky Sports. So I'd imagine it'll bring money into the club as well. So I hope they do spend money on them, and I hope they do get promotion. I interviewed the centre forward, Elise Hughes, a couple of months ago in Spirones, and you know, when you listen to her talk and how what they've done and how far they've come as women's football over the years, yeah, good luck to them. I hope they are looking at them. I think they've got a great chance of getting promotion, and I'm sure it'll benefit the club as a whole.
In Facebook land or YouTube land, if there are any of the ladies players watching this broadcast live, please make yourselves aware. Please make yourself known in the chat. And we'll send you a link because I want to talk about today's game if you are out there, because I think they're doing a fantastic job this season. I think it's great stuff. Right, on to the break. So we now don't have a game. I think it's still on Saturday. Go on, Jim. What?
Tony Quinn said we play Sunderland, who are top the last game of the season.
Yeah, that could be. In fact, Nigel already told me that. Ian, go on, mate.
So you didn't want my view on it then, no?
Yeah, I mean, I love you. I mean, you haven't been to any of the games, have you?
No, I haven't been to any of the games, but I've still got a view on it. Listen, as Jim said, WSL is the place to be in women's football. What I worry about is how the infrastructure at Crystal Palace, because where they're going to play their games, they need to play them at a decent stadium. I mean, Arsenal get 50,000. I think they do play them at the Emirates. They'd have to play the games at Selhurst. That means Selhurst gets, a lot more football played on it. I can't see them being able to play them at Sutton. I mean, the Sutton pitch is awful anyway, isn't it? And they've had games postponed there, as well as the youngsters. So I think it would have to be at Selhurst. And, good luck to them. I live down in Sussex, as some people know, and they play Lewis towards the end of the season away. And Lewis are actually bottom. And so a few of us from here are going to try and get to that one. I know that Nigel is definitely going to the Sunderland game, but it's interesting, isn't it? Winner takes all, last game of the season. That's really exciting. So
yeah, Paul Bristow is also making a point in the chat that don't forget the Women's Championship is only 22 games. Okay, so they've got 6 games to play. We've got a game in hand. It's really, I think it's really interesting. They're doing better than men. Joe, you look as though you're about to say something. Jump in, mate.
No, No, I can't say what I want to. It's okay. Carry on.
We did have them on, didn't we? A year or so ago, they were coming back from Durham, I think, on the coach. And
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that was when Dean was in charge, of course. Dean Davenport, a very good friend of the show, of course. Right. So we didn't really touch on the substitutions during your match synopsis, Ian.
No, we didn't.
I'm concerned. I have a concern, and I'm about to go out on a limb in a minute. Can you remind everybody who the Shell's holding his breath there? He knows what's coming. Who the substitutions were? Have you got them in front of you?
I have. Right. So we made 3 substitutions yesterday in 2 batches. Ahmada came on for Jordan Ayew on 70 minutes. And then Hughes came on for Wharton, and Edouard came on for Mateta on 81 minutes.
Thank you very much. Okay. We're doing one in particular. Jim, just in case you missed that going through on the chat, there was a message for you in the chat. Somebody from Banstead went to school with your son, Andy, and he wishes you well to you and your family, in case you missed it. Right. I had the great pleasure yesterday in spending some time with Mr. Hughes pre-match, okay, as part of the DSA thing. He's a lovely guy. I think he's a terrific guy. I worry about him, though. There was a stat floating around on social media yesterday that for the last, I think it was 10 appearances, that he has come on as substitute going back 6 months or more. But mainly I'm focusing on the last 2 weeks. Okay. Hughes come on and we concede. Now, the guy's a holding midfield player. Is he up to scratch? I'm being kind here, okay, because I've got my own personal thoughts, obviously, but is he up to standard, gentlemen, is the question. Jill?
Of course he is. That goal yesterday was nothing to do with him. If you're going to start pointing fingers, you cannot point a finger at him for that goal yesterday at all. You can't point a finger at him for the goals versus Spurs. That's none of those were his fault. I mean, they should have been out of sight before the 3 goals in 15 minutes. But no, you're massively, looking at clutching at straws. And almost as a cult following at Palace. We have always said,
really,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And I quote, our albino assassin has lost his mojo, says Teresa. I quote, the poor man's Ben Watson, says Dawn Palace. Am I being harsh, Ian?
Yeah, I think you are a bit. I think for me, Will Hughes is a good squad player. I think he's the kind of player we probably want to keep. And he will do a job for us and come on and play 15, 20 minutes. And I agree with Jill on this one. I don't think you can call him out he was the one that was fouled when one of their players got booked in stoppage time when he played the ball through, in the middle of the park. So I think he did okay. He's certainly not going to get a starting position in this side going forward. So whether he'll want to stay is another thing. But I wouldn't put him on the scrap heap yet. I would keep him and have him as part of the 25-man squad.
Other people saying he's the new Milo. I don't think so. And Mukta was making a good point. He's lost his mojo. Good squad player. Real panel saying Hughes is a basic player and who does a basic job. Jim, your thoughts on our albino assassin, mate?
Well, I agree with the boys. I think he's better than a basic player. I think he's quite a decent player. But I mean, when you've got people like Lerma, De Curry, and sort of Wharton come in, he's going to be a squad player. But he doesn't let you down. And when we've needed him earlier on in the season, when we didn't have any midfield players, he did okay. He's not. I mean, when people say, well, these 2 subs come on and we lose the game again, well, what about the other 9 players that are on the park as well? We've lost games because they're on the park. No, he's a decent player. He's not going to be number 1, but he's somebody that you can rely on, and he gets stuck in when he comes in onto the park. And I think he does a decent job.
Okay, mate, thank you. Why you kick my dog? The irony is if Parish hadn't done the dirty on Townsend, it could have been coming on instead of Amahada, who lost the ball, which resulted in Andros Townsend crossing the ball for an equaliser. Well, you still haven't told us who you are, why you kicked my dog. We want to know who you are. Okay, boys, I want to move it on if you don't mind, because we're running out of time. For this mid-season break, or towards the end of season break, if you like. So we haven't got a game this weekend because obviously Newcastle is still involved in the FA Cup. And then...
Well done, Newcastle.
Say again?
I said, well done, Newcastle.
Yeah, they won't be in it for much longer, as he rightly alluded to. And following, obviously, it's an international break where I believe, off the top of my head, we play Brazil and Belgium.
Yes, I'm going to the Belgian game.
Are you now? Okay, so nice. Take that down a second. We'll come back to the next upcoming fixtures. I wanted to ask the boys, give me your one priority that you think Glasner needs to work on during this international or prolonged break, because we haven't got a game now until the end of the month. So your one thought process, please, on something that you think Oliver Glasner, as the new manager, look at them, it's like a Mexican wave out there. They're all putting their hands up. Ian, go first.
I think it's the fitness, and I think that's what he will focus on. He's already said as much. And, you know, I think we do look tired towards the end of games. And, you know, we know that a game isn't 90 minutes anymore. It's nearer 100 minutes a lot of the time. And therefore, they've just got... But what he's asking them to do is so much more than Roy asked them to do. And therefore, I just think it's fitness levels. And he'll want to make them fitter for when we face Nottingham Forest at the end of March.
Jill boy.
I think he should be getting down on his knees and begging Michael Elise to stay next season. Because if we can keep Elise, I mean, I know we won't, but if we could keep him, then we would have, you know, we would have the nucleus of a very, with maybe one or two, you know, we know we've got 3 to 5 players going out, either through age or, you know, or sales. There'd be at least a couple of players in sales and then other players not getting in because of their age. But if we could keep Elise and then add another striker and another centre back, I think we have got fielders to 2 teams. You know, I think we would genuinely have a chance. You know, at finishing, you know, a bit higher.
10th.
Yeah, 9th, probably. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to come back to the Michael Elise point in a minute because I want Jim's views on the break. Okay, but I do have something to tell you on the Michael Elise point. Jim.
Well, I mean, he's going to work. He's got weeks now. Once the break, I mean, they're going away to Spain to play in some friendly, I think I saw. So he'll be working. Like Ian said, he'll work on fitness. If you're going to do a high press, it's like when you're defending against a team that are passing the ball all the time. That team don't get tired, but the players that are chasing after the ball get tired. It will work the opposite now because he's asking them to press high up the park. And Jill mentioned earlier, 1 will do it, 2, will they do it? I guarantee you, under this guy, players that don't do it won't play. You've all got to do it. You've got to do it as a whole team. If one goes to cover a 15-yard spot, the guy behind, if he's 20 yards away, he'll be telling that guy, whoa, hang on. And once he gets at that, and that's how we used to work it with Terry Venables. We'd spend hours doing it. It'd always be an 8 against 7. So it was always overloaded, and the defending team had the 7 players. And we worked on a system where the distances had to be right. Because there's no point in you leaving somebody and your next defender's 20 yards behind you and you're going 10 yards. Because the guy that you've left will just come to the angle and get the ball. So it's physically, it's very hard. And I mean, I thought the last 10 minutes of that game, you know, people were saying, why did they take Walton off? Walton looked to me heavy-legged. He was never there the last 10 minutes. And he brought him off because he wanted fresh legs. He wanted a fitter person for the last 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he'll be working a lot of things. He'll be working on shape, he'll be working on free kicks, he'll be working on corners. and he'll be working on the high press. To do all that, you've got to be fit. And probably our fitness levels, we're starting to see now, because he's making them work harder and playing a different game, that they're maybe not as fit as when you see some other teams doing it. Spurs do it, and then players go for 90 minutes. They didn't do it before Pochettino, or no, who was it?
Yeah, Pochettino. I know. The Australian guy. I know. Postecoglou.
The Aussie. Call him an Aussie.
But until he went there, they never did that. So it's he's got lots to work on. But fitness will be one of the big things, because if you're not fit enough, you won't be able to play in the system he wants.
Exactly.
Thank you, mate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is why we have the Ledge on this show as regularly as we do. We need him here.
Ian said it before me.
Right. Okay. Before we move on, I just want to touch on the Elise point. I'm not one to big up any opposition podcast, but I'm going to on this occasion. So you can see that there.
That bloke's a complete muppet.
The guy, right? In your opinion, okay, he is quite a respected guy on Twitter.
Still a muppet.
And if Joe, I've sent it to you so you can see it after the show. If you listen to what he says, okay, and he believes this to be the case, he said, obviously he's not connected inside, but the Elise thing is already done. Now, in his opinion, we have absolutely no control over it. Michael Elise is a Man United fan. Michael Elise, this is according to this guy here, and he's on Twitter if you want to have a look at it. He has already agreed to join Man United in the summer because that's his club. He's agreed the buyout clause he believes is 60 million quid, and there will be, he said it might even be as low as 50 million pound. He said the only thing Palace might get in exchange for it is having one Bissaka as part exchange. He said, but seriously, that's what he's talking about. Listen to it. I've sent you the link. I hope the geezer's talking a lot of crap, okay? But he is quite well known on Twitter, and Ian's views are one thing, and the rest of Twitter is something else. Go for it, boys.
Why are we giving this guy airtime even?
Look, I haven't even, if you notice, I'm not even giving him his name.
I have actually seen some of his videos when he's watching Manchester United games live. He doesn't even go to games. He watches them live, and he commentates on them live and goes off on one where they concede. It's actually quite comical. He's a loser. And how he's got so many followers on social media is beyond me, but I wouldn't give him any credence whatsoever, in my opinion.
Let's hope you're right. Jill, very quickly, because I've got to move on.
I did say to you a long time ago that I thought, after Elise's last injury, I did say to you that I don't think he's going to Man United. I think he'll go to Chelsea. But I did say to you, and that I thought he played his life. I don't think he'll play for us again. And if he is, you know, I don't see him in a Palace shirt. But and then just going to a question that I was asked just in a chat that came up on the screen. Would I keep Elise or Eze? I would keep Eze.
Yeah, thank you. So that he's been named. I didn't name him. I didn't mention his name, but somebody else did. A real panel did. Mark Goldbridge is his name. If you want to look it up, his name is Mark Goldbridge. Right, Nigel, very quickly, please. The fixtures, if you'd be so kind. So obviously we have a break now. Our next game is Saturday the 30th away at Forest. And then we're going on to the second of, I think they come thick and fast, a very winnable game there against dodgy at home Bournemouth. And then a couple of dodgy ones, Man City and Liverpool, of course, West Ham, and finally, somewhere in there, they've got a sandwich, Newcastle and Fulham. So that's what's coming up. I'm not going to ask you boys predictions because it's too far away. Our next show will be Sunday, the 31st of March at 8 p.m. Boys, I thank you for your company. And ladies and gentlemen, at Facebook and YouTube land, I thank you for joining us this evening. Please like, share, and follow the podcast. And for those of you that are going into Ramadan, we wish you Ramadan Mubarak on behalf of everybody at Red and Blue Review. My name's been Nick Philpott. Jim, Ian, Jill, thank you for being there, boys. I can't do it without you. Enjoy your break now, all of you. Get recovered. Jill, get your bloody knees sorted out. Get your ticker sorted out. Cannon, get your hips sorted out. And Ian, get over whatever it is you're suffering, okay? and I'll try and stay alive with my dodgy ticket. On behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, and these guys, I wish you well. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, one.
Good night.